All you homeowners have unique needs. Some feel the need to paint their door a vibrant shade of blue. Others have the need to decorate their bathroom with fish, anchors, and other nautical items. And because each homeowner has unique needs, Geico helps you get the right coverage for your home and what's in it. That way, you get exactly what's right for you, even if your needs are unique. Get more with Geico.
You got problems that you ought to be concerned with. Moolah! You don't know how you're supposed to earn it, or what to do with it, or how to keep it. You're a freak with a dark, shameful secret. But you're not the only one. Get your hidden financial fears with a blast of sun. Now your healing has begun. It's Bad with Money with
Gabe S.
Done.
Hello and welcome to Bad with Money, a show about finances and feelings where we don't talk down to you. I'm your host, Gabe S. Dunn. Would you like to tell my audience who you are and what you do? Because I feel like everyone in Los Angeles, your app has become a celebrity.
Yeah, it's been quite a month, although bittersweet, of course. Feels like everybody I know knows somebody who has felt a loss from this. My job is to cover wildfires, where they happen and give people the correct information as they need it, which is what we did during these Los Angeles fires. One of the other ones was very close to home. So I am full-time there. This is my everyday job. And my background is in journalism. So it's kind of a natural fit really for what I was doing on social media prior to this. So it just gives everybody a central place to go for all the information they need, rather than having to check 15 browser tabs, which is what our CEO had to do before he started this company. So.
Okay, so Watch Duty was the app. For those of you not in Los Angeles, it was the app that suddenly everybody had and was downloading because it had the most accurate information about the wildfires that kind of consumed the Pacific Palisades and Altadena and Eaton and these areas the last month. And I had never heard of the app prior to this. It felt very much like something that was sort of a niche interest, and then all of a sudden became like the most important app for all these people. Can you talk about like how it started and why the CEO was so interested in fires?
Our CEO was in Silicon Valley tech type and retired to rural Sonoma County in Northern California. It wasn't too long after that he himself was evacuated from his house that he bought and found himself in this situation where he was looking for information all over but couldn't find it. He eventually went on social media and found some of us who were covering this on social media, Twitter and Facebook, and he found he could get a lot more information than just the twice-a-day updates that he'd get from government sources. And so that's really how he got interested in it more, and he realized that something needs to be done, something needs to be created to help people who are in his situation. So he got together with some of his engineer friends and they, learned what they could about firefighting, and he was going along on engines and everything. Then they built the app. I believe it was in like about 80 days. This was it.
Whoa, what year was that?
2021. So
okay.
That's when this started, the app first opened, I want to believe like summer, early fall 2021. And yeah, it was built in 80 days, all the code and everything. And, we started with 3 counties in Northern California, north of San Francisco. And then, not long after that, we expanded to the rest of California. And then we expanded to basically all the states in the West except for Hawaii and Alaska. And then recently we added Hawaii. And then now we are in 22 states, basically everything west of the Mississippi except for Louisiana and Alaska right now. So that's, it's been in 3 years, it's quite the growth, but also, it solves a problem that, you would hope that people don't have, right? You'd rather people not have to deal with these fires and not need all this information. But the fact of the matter is that, that people do. So, and, several of us ourselves have been evacuated during fires since then. So, we know what that's like. And I was going to evacuate. There was an evacuation order during one that was called the Sunset Fire out here. Mm-hmm. I mean, the evacuation order was just across the street. but I was using the app to kind of just tell me everything I needed to know. I was in our Slack channels, but it was like I knew that I could count on them to give me the information I needed to know to make a decision. So that's how that all started.
You said that the CEO found you on social media writing already, covering this.
Yes.
Why were you interested in fires? Why were you covering this?
Because in 2019, fall that year, there were quite a few fires that were blowing a lot of smoke and particulate matter toward where I live here in Los Angeles. And I ended up getting very sick. I was in the hospital for 4 days on, a BiPAP machine because I couldn't really breathe by myself. And they said it was likely from the smoke. And there were also hundreds of respiratory patients who were seen, right around that time. And I thought, well, I should learn as much as I can about this so that hopefully people will get a little more information, a little more heads up to know what's going on, that maybe they wouldn't have to end up in the place like I did. So that's really what got me into it. And it really got me into learning as much as I could. And then also with my reporting background, connecting with some people who were already doing this, and they taught me a lot. So then I was just doing it ever since then. And I just wanted to, for the same reason I'm doing it now, is just to provide people information that they may not otherwise have.
I'm so sorry you got sick. It's interesting, the level of urgency. I feel like there's all these people, and I speak to them on my other show and on this show, that are experts in certain areas. And then nobody cares until it's like all of a sudden incredibly dire for a certain subset of person. And I wonder, was it frustrating prior to this past month? Did you feel like you were kind of screaming into a void to get people to care?
Well, I suppose that in some sense, you want people to be prepared and understand what's going on elsewhere. But I think it's human nature in a way to kind of not be too interested in something unless it's happening to you, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we were covering a lot of fires in Idaho, other places, Texas. We didn't even do at the time. Big fire broke out there, so we turned it on, that day for Texas. And I mean, it didn't have I hate to say use the word popularity, but it didn't have the awareness among so many people until this month. But, like I said, I don't think people tune into something if they're not aware of it, or if it's not happening close to home or any of those things. Fortunately, I've lived in LA for 37 of my 48 years. So, since Watch Duty started, this is the first time we've really had anything that's like a conflagration fire or anything, which is what these were.
What does that mean?
Really, it just means that these are situations where you have homes burning, and that aids in the spread of one home to the next and whatnot. Like those become fuel for go from one place to the next and the next one. I think people tuned in because it was the source that they had, and they somebody told somebody else, hey, you should download this. Somebody told somebody else, and that kind of grew. People in Los Angeles, like I said, hadn't been subject to something like this very much in the last 5 years. Before this, we had the Woolsey fire and the Thomas fire, which were horrible. But, we didn't have anything like that, really at large scale, recently. So I think we would want people to be aware of what's going on. That's half the reason we exist. But it's something that you don't know you need until you need it, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I need a water outage map until my water goes out, right?
Right. Sure.
Yeah.
You guys know that I take testosterone, and that causes your hair to thin, and my hair is thinning. And I want it to thin to a certain degree, but I don't need it to thin as much as it may end up thinning. So what can I do about that? And as you guys know, I have known about Nutrafol for a while, and I have been taking it. They were kind enough to send me some samples like a few weeks ago, and I have seen decreased shedding. Like, my hair sheds so much in the shower, and that always freaked me out, made me feel really self-conscious, just would always think, is this too much hair? And after taking Nutrafol, I have noticed decreased shedding. This year, there is nothing holding you back from loving your hair again. Hair is so much more than what you see on the surface. It's a reflection of what's happening inside, such as my testosterone. Let Nutrafol target the key root causes of your thinning hair and help you grow stronger, healthier strands from within. Hair thinning is very common, okay? And it's very frustrating that it's kind of a new thing that's going on for me as I transition. And I need all the help I can get, especially because the shedding is so freaky. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement brand, trusted by over 1.5 million people. See thicker, stronger, faster growing hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol. I cannot wait to get to the 3-month mark if it's already helping now. Physician formulated with 100% drug-free ingredients, Nutrafol supports healthy hair growth from within by targeting key root causes of thinning, okay? So they are stress, hormones, aging, nutrition, lifestyle, metabolism, through whole body health. Building a hair growth routine is simple. Purchase online, no prescription required. Automated deliveries and free shipping keep you on track. Plus, with the Nutrafol subscription, you can save up to 20%. You'll have access to free naturopathic doctor consults, and a Headspace meditation membership is included. While many supplements rely solely on ingredient studies, Nutrafol clinically tests final formulations to ensure their efficacy. In a clinical study, 72% of men saw more scalp coverage after taking Nutrafol Men Hair Growth Supplement for 6 months, and 86% of women saw improved hair growth after taking Nutrafol Women Hair Growth Supplements for 6 months. Start your hair growth journey with Nutrafol. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering our listeners $10 off your first month's subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code BWM. Find out why over 4,500 healthcare professionals and stylists recommend Nutrafol for healthier hair. Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code BWM. That's Nutrafol.com, promo code BWM.
Americans love using their credit cards, the most secure and hassle-free way to pay. But D.C. politicians want to change that with the Durbin-Marshall credit card bill. This bill lets corporate megastores pick how your credit card is processed, allowing them to use untested payment networks that jeopardize your data security and rewards. Corporate megastores will make more money, and you pay the price. Tell Congress to guard your card, because Americans lose when politicians choose. Learn more at guardyourcard.com.
How does the app work? How is it pulling information?
So we have a lot of signals that come into our Slack. That's where we collaborate. That's where we figure out, we double check things, and everybody listens to scanners. They get other information. We all talk about it and make sure we all agree on what the correct information is. We validate these signals. Our engineers have built systems that allow us to take in dispatch information, and then we can, like from CHP in California, for example, there's an app called PulsePoint, which lists dispatches, various other things, signals that we have. So we're able to take all those in, and then we can go ahead and, say, okay, this might be a fire, this might not, but then we can check other things like cameras. Obviously, anybody can check a satellite, a lot of things like that. So we have those tools that allow us to ingest a lot of information that we take in and can kind of validate one way or the other, and then, decide if it's something people need to be notified about. But it really is just a human operation, because nothing happens in the app, or notifications, until a human decides that it's something people need to know. So once something comes in, we'll have a discussion and say, hey, I'm going to post this. Here's X, Y, and Z reason why. We're going to send a notification of this because these people in this area need to know about this. So we all have a discussion for all of these that we're posting amongst us, and we distill it down and okay, what are the things that people need to know right away? There's acreage, there's containment. We want to tell people where the fire is going, where it was, what firefighters are doing on the ground. Evacuations, we tell people that. We tell people what shelters they can go to. All of those things we've kind of improved over the years.
Wow.
Really, it just works. If you think about it, there are all these signals and all this data that's coming in, and then it comes through, the pipes, but then it comes through the humans. And out of the humans would come a smaller, more refined pipe of data that goes to the users. So, we have some fires that we post, we call them silent incidents, which basically don't send a notification because they're less of a threat. But basically, we want people to know about them because there are times that we upgrade them to a type where we do send in a push notification. And, that's where something like, it could be a threat to somebody or property or any of those things, right? So we want people to know about it. We have people 24/7.
Wow.
One of our overnight people lives in New Zealand, so the time zone just happens to work out.
Nice.
I think we have, in total, counting volunteers in other departments like engineering and product and everything, I think we have about 200 volunteers.
Volunteers?
Yeah, we're mostly run by volunteers. We're mostly volunteers. A lot of the people who are our contributors listen to the radio and look up other things, and they don't post in the app, but they feed us information, and they're eyes and ears. Basically, a lot of people who we have, the reason they're important is because they're local. They're local to whatever state or city they're in, so they know context of what's going to be a problem and what isn't. A lot of our people are retired dispatchers, firefighters, like current firefighters. We have a group of, I think there's 8 or 9 staff reporters like me who are full-time. And then we have some full-time people in engineering and product and some other things I probably forgot.
Are you guys going down, like, reporting from the scene?
That isn't something we generally do, because the only thing we would do, like, we have people who are photographers. So, they can relay information to us. That's not really, we only use official sources. So
Got it.
Really, if they refer it to us, sure, it's for our information, but we wouldn't say, here's what's happening, with what's going on, because it's not an official source. But it would be for our situational awareness and knowing what's actually happening. We also have users who submit pictures in the app, and we moderate those.
It's so wild that it's volunteers doing all of this.
It is. Like I said, we do have a small group of people who are full-time and paid staff, but by and large, most everybody who is reporting and adding information is volunteer, and they're aware of that. And what we've seen is, as we've reached more people, I think we have a total of, I believe, 5.9 million users. We have, I believe, at this point, like almost 2 million in LA County, which is where I live. We get people, and maybe they don't have a background in what we do. It is kind of, a niche thing, but they just want to help. All they want to do is just be of help, because they've seen what the app can do and what people are capable of. And so they want to try to help, because they think, well, hey, I only want to add to that. Maybe I can help my neighborhood, or maybe I can help, these people or whatever. Some people see what's happened here and are concerned for where they live. I think that's some of it. We get volunteers. We just had one we have some from the East Coast who let us know, and they want us to make our way there eventually. But, that's down the road. We want to make sure we're doing everything correctly, deliberately. Yeah, obviously, it is a bigger problem than just out west, just California. There are a lot of issues. So.
Have you or someone you know been a victim of identity theft, harassed, stalked, doxxed? Privacy matters, especially to someone like me who has a bit of a public persona, but it also matters to my listeners, because this kind of thing can happen to anyone. Do you ever wonder how much of your personal data is out there on the internet for anyone to see? More than you think. Your name, your contact info, your social security number, your home address, even information about your family members, all compiled by data brokers and sold online. Data brokers make a profit off your data, and your data is a commodity. Anyone on the web can buy your private details. This can lead to identity theft, phishing attempts, harassment, and unwanted spam calls. But you can now protect your privacy with Delete Me. I share a lot of my life online, so I am hyper aware of my safety and security. It's easier than ever before to find personal information about people online, and all of this data is just hanging out on the web, but it can have actual consequences in the real world. I have used Delete Me. I had an instance where some stuff was going on Reddit. I don't want to draw more attention to it, but I used Delete Me because a friend of mine who's a sex worker actually told me about it. And it's something that a lot of women online use in order to keep their information safe from stalkers and harassers. The solution that we used is called Delete Me. It is a subscription service that removes your personal info from hundreds of data brokers. I have actually used this. I used this years ago, and so that's why I'm choosing to personally endorse it. If you sign up and provide Delete Me with exactly what information you want deleted, their experts take it from there. Delete Me sends you regular, personalized privacy reports showing what info they found, where they found it, and what they removed. Delete Me isn't just a one-time service. It is always working for you, constantly monitoring and removing the personal information you don't want on the internet. To put it simply, Delete Me does all the hard work of wiping you and your family's personal information from data broker websites. Take control of your data and keep your private life private by signing up for Delete Me, now at a special discount for my listeners. Today, get 20% off your Delete Me plan by texting BAD MONEY to 64000. Text BAD MONEY to 64000. That's BAD MONEY, all one word, to 64000. Message and data rates may apply. See terms for details. Investing can sometimes feel overwhelming with all the fancy jargon that makes it seem more complicated than it really is. Maybe all those finance bros that just want another thing they can try and quote unquote mansplain. And yes, I am a trans guy and I can mansplain, but I also have the experience of being mansplained too. And especially about money. I talk about on this show all the time how people pitch themselves to the show and they feel like they can make investing this big scary thing that, you know, is this gatekept knowledge. So for a long time, I felt like I couldn't really do it, or that I didn't have the knowledge to do it, or that it was like too big of a scary task. And Acorns believes that anyone can be an investor. That's why they make it easy to stick to basic time-tested principles that give your money a chance to grow. One of the things that happened was that I truly thought that I could not manage my own investments, or that I couldn't manage my own retirement fund. I couldn't manage my own personal investments. I was very scared. It took me a long time to stop paying someone else to do it and to feel confident that I could do it. And I think maybe what would have helped is being able to invest in smaller ways before I was like thrust into big time investing. And you don't even need to do big time investing. I just literally have my retirement and then the amount that I am comfortable with. And Acorns is a perfect way to do that little amount that you're comfortable with. Today's episode is sponsored by Acorns. Acorns is a financial wellness app that makes it easy to start saving and investing for your future. You don't need to be an expert. Acorns will recommend a diversified portfolio that matches you and your money goals. You don't need to be rich. Acorns lets you get started with the spare money you've got right now, even if all you've got is spare change. You don't need to feel like financial wellness is impossible. Acorns gives you small, simple steps to get you and your money on track. Any little bit of money you put in the market right now will eventually grow. That's just the way it works. I know there are huge dips and it can be really scary, but a lot of it is just about patience and starting. Sign up now and join the over 13 million all-time customers who have already saved and invested over $22 billion with Acorns. Head to acorns.com/badmoney or download the Acorns app to get started. Paid non-client endorsement. Compensation provides incentive to positively promote Acorns. Tier 1 compensation provided. Investing involves risk. Acorns Advisors, LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor. View important disclosures at acorns.com/badmoney.
All you homeowners have unique needs. Some feel the need to paint their door a vibrant shade of blue. Others have the need to decorate their bathroom with fish, anchors, and other nautical items. And because each homeowner has unique needs, Geico helps you get the right coverage for your home and what's in it. That way, you get exactly what's right for you, even if your needs are unique. Get more with Geico.
I think it's interesting that we've come to turn to private companies and volunteers for things that we might have thought the government and our taxes would pay for. That it's coming down to caring for each other and creating solutions through investors and private citizens who want to make stuff, or through hiring people on the ground, or hiring, reporters and things like that, for something that is something that I feel that the city should have been more prepared for.
Well, What we always say is our job is not to replace anything. Our job is to complement the existing alert systems. And
You're not replacing anything. You're like the only ones doing it. What do you mean?
Well,
There's nothing to replace.
the way we look at it is that, we want people to have all the signals and all the information, right? We would like people to have our information, the official alerts that are coming from the government. We would rather people have more information than less. And if there's a situation where we can provide, that granular stuff that people need to know without some of the processes that government has to go through in a food chain and tape and all of these things, then we'll definitely do that. We are glad that we've been able to help people when they really needed it and be able to give people the extra time that they have, get out, grab pets, grab stuff you need. We've received lots of stories like that. And, that's really our goal, is to give people the information, but we don't want people to ignore, I guess, the government alerts, because they have a job, they have a role, but we do too. It's just that sometimes government has to go through a process, like I said, a food chain to go up and down.
Oh, government's inefficient? That's wild. Huge if true.
Well, I think that, honestly, most of the people who are in emergency management and these kinds of things, they do the best they can. But like I said, the systems don't evolve very quickly. Whereas when you're on the outside and, you have a bunch of people who are motivated for the same reason and you can just develop things, we don't have to have the muck that they might have to go through to release things. We are a nonprofit, so, and it always will be. Our base information for the alerts and everything, all that will be free. There are options to have a membership, which is for a fee, but you get extra features. Then we also have a feature level for professionals like utility people, firefighters, emergency management, all of those kind of, with a lot more features that maybe, your normal person probably wouldn't even care about. But
right.
It's even a little esoteric for me. But, we have, as reporters, we have access to all of it. But we have people who have written us that they use it, like tanker pilots, the people who help all the tankers fly around, copter pilots, people who are in agencies, various roles in agencies. And we have a lot of partnerships now with a lot of different fire agencies. And so that helps us give them what they need. And then they can use our map or whatever it might be.
What are the different types of fires? You mentioned there's the silent, what are the different types?
So there's the silent incident, which basically is generally going to be your smaller incident, your smaller fire. Say there's it's like a 20 by 20 spot. Somebody just threw a cigarette out their car door.
I was going to say threw a cigarette.
Or, they didn't secure their tow chains or something, and it's going along the road and sparking, and that goes, things like that. Smaller incidents that aren't going to be a threat to people or property, at least as they are at the moment. Those are our silent incidents. Our what we call normal incidents are the ones we send out push notifications with every report. Those are generally going to be, larger ones. But of course, size is relative, right? A large fire in the middle of the desert is going to be a lot different than a large fire in the middle of Palisades. So we base that on people who can see it. Aviation, we want people to know, say, hey, why are all these aircraft flying over here? Okay, this is why. So those are our normal incidents. And then we also post prescribed burns, which is the agency letting us know beforehand that they're going to try to reduce fuel or do whatever else they're doing. The reason we do that is because we want people to know what's going on. So when they see smoke, they're not inundating dispatch. They already would know, okay, this is the government doing this. It's fine. So those are the ones we do right now.
When it came to the Palisades fire, how did that go for you guys? Can you walk me through realizing what was going on and then all the way through now?
I don't remember exactly what the first signal was, but generally we'll get dispatches. We get, like I said, we get the signals in. One of us immediately looked it up on the camera and we could tell that it was growing quickly and was going to be a problem. We immediately, were listening and following everything.
Why did you know it was going to grow quickly? Like what was causing it to grow like that?
Well, generally in these situations, it was, stuff that it wanted to burn in the area it was, but then you also had all that wind, right? You had all the Santa Ana wind that was really high speed, and it was going to push it down from the area up at the summit of Palisades down toward the ocean. But of course, there's a lot of people in the way, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we wanted people to know it was coming. So you could see it also getting bigger on camera. I mean, anybody could, figure that out. You could see on the camera that it was getting a lot bigger, and then it was going to threaten people. So we wanted people to know about it as soon as possible. So we posted the incident. We started issuing reports. We wanted people to know what the deal was, the evacuations that were coming, that the fire was growing quickly, firefighters were trying to get ahead of it, all of the granular things about where the fire was. Firefighters being sent to this street, firefighters being sent here. They're talking about evacuating this next place.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really how these incidents start. When really rapidly evolving incidents like this happen, we have a plan that we use called a rapid response plan. That's something where we apportion our staff people. Somebody's going to be taking care of evacuation. Somebody's going to be looking for shelter information. Somebody, we each are assigned a role. Somebody's going to be issuing the main reports. And so we were moving through that as time went on and just putting out reports as much as we could. And then as time goes on, you find out about more places that are being affected. Firefighters are being sent over here. You hear there are structures probably lost on this street. Now that's something we wouldn't post.
Why?
Well, we don't want people to, the last thing we'd like to do is have somebody find out that their home on their street, just burned down, or we don't want that. Also, we don't post firefighter injuries or any kind of medical thing or anything related to law enforcement. That's our code of conduct. We don't report on those things. We receive all this information, and as time evolves, there's shelters open. World Central Kitchen came open and started serving people. They've done this on a few fires that we've had, and we have a partnership with them. They give us, all the locations where they're going to be helping people out. So, and then you get your updates and you give people as much information you can as the first day, the second day. And, we just follow it as it progresses. And then, as time goes on, you start to have fewer updates. But what we wanted to do is also give people information on, here are these press conferences, and we can embed the live video in our app so people can watch it, all of those things. And maybe they can get resources where you could get recovery resources, any new statistics people might want. And as time goes on, for containment and, evacuations being lifted, that was a lot of things that we did. Now it's 100%, but we're still leaving it on the map for now because there's still stuff that is important with it, with evacuations and all that stuff. So, but basically that's how these work. The other thing is Eaton happened, right at the same time. So we had people on that at the same time, and that, got serious very quickly. So we kind of had to split people up during all this time when all this was happening at the beginning. Some people were up, 18, 24, 36 hours to make sure that everything got covered. And so they had to tell people, go to sleep. You need a nap. We need you to sleep because, and a lot of us were just not, took a long time to make up that sleep debt, right? So, and I think for a lot of people, there's a lot of, mental energy expended, of course, but also, what happened was, really hard to deal with for a lot of people, and
traumatizing. You saw a lot.
Yeah. And, unfortunately, nearly 30 people did die in these situations. And, people were hearing a lot about it, and, we knew things about it. So, we always wanted to make sure we were checking on each other and talking about it. Our company provided some resources for that. So, but yeah, everybody just worked their hearts out and eventually came to a place where things were a little more stable on our end. But of course, it was just the beginning of people having to deal with, well, what the hell do I do now? Right. My house is gone, or somebody I know unfortunately died, or, and in our experience, of course, it takes years for these things to even get close to being fully rebuilt and all these things, they're still trying to figure out what happened, why it happened. They have their theories, but I don't think anybody's really sure yet.
How do you guys deal with the theories and misinformation and all the arson things and like what was going on with just how out of control the narrative got for different pockets of people?
Well, we deal with it by just not involving anything and posting anything that has to do with speculation. That's for social media to debate and say, these people did it, I saw this person. And of course we get the conspiracy people too, it's space lasers.
Oh, no.
It's direct energy weapons, it's space lasers, it's
anything but climate change.
It's the governor lighting them himself.
It's space lasers, and definitely not the climate.
No, definitely not, us not getting any rain in months and
right, of course.
And us having really what was an unprecedented series of wind events. Like I said, I've lived here a long time, and it was in January. We have them in January, but not like that. That's highly unusual.
I think there's like an emergency preparedness problem because you're right. People don't want to think about something unless it's affecting them directly. And I think there's also a denial of that these are sort of unprecedented weather events. And I also think it's interesting. So I work out in Santa Monica, okay, and we were evacuated, but also going back to work, and I'm customer facing. So I was seeing a lot of people who had lost their homes. And it's people that come in all the time and they're wealthy. They were like so shell shocked. Like they looked like they had seen a ghost. Like they were all like so pale and so like freaked out. And I was like, I don't want to say that climate disasters are going to become some sort of great equalizer, because what ultimately happens is you feel badly for them. And of course you do, but you'll say, oh, well, what's going on? Where are you? And they'll be like, oh, we're at our condo. Thank goodness. You know what I mean? Like, it's very different than like if I worked out in Pasadena, for example. And so I don't know that it's an equalizer, because I'm like, what is it going to take for us to realize that these are not like isolated incidents occurring from one arsonist or the governor setting the fires or a fucking space laser? Like, what is it gonna take for people to see that this is connected?
I don't know, short of it getting, hopefully this will be something that people will kind of realize and before anything like this happens again. As I tell people, climate change by itself isn't responsible for any of this. It's a new base layer, right? So you have all these other things like arson and lightning and all of these other things, but it's creating different conditions. And so that's really what's going on here.
What conditions? It's creating conditions where this stuff is worse?
Obviously, we have changes in our rain patterns. We have differences in the amount of humidity recovery we have at night. It used to be something that, was more common, that fire would kind of lay down overnight. You have instances now where it doesn't really give much relief at all. Yeah, just things drier for longer, and you get a wet year and you have more stuff to burn. And then if you don't get any rain after that, it's going to be an even bigger problem. But
what do you mean by a wet year so you have more stuff to burn?
Okay, so if you think about it, you go through summer and then you're into winter, which we apparently just decided to not have winter. So we go into winter, and then, we have a year like the year before and the year before that were very wet, and we had a lot of precipitation and snow, and, it was prodigious. So obviously you get that, and you're going to get a lot of plant growth and a lot of grass and a lot of other things. Mm-hmm. But what happens is that starts to dry out and becomes available to burn. So you go into a pattern like we have now, where it's just, now we're getting rain, but in the preceding months, we didn't really get much rain at all. It just makes things crispy. As I've said, it makes things more receptive to burning. So that's where you can get into more problems as far as, what they call fuel load, which is basically the amount of fuel, grasses, trees, other things that are available to burn if something ignites. So we had a lot of growth because we had a lot of rain. Who knows? It remains to be seen what happens the rest of this month and March. We get most of our rain in January and February.
Right.
Don't know if we're going to get what they usually call a miracle March, but it's possible.
Miracle March is when we have a lot of rain.
Miracle March is when we actually start to make up. It's when we didn't get enough rain in January and February and December, and then we finally make up for it with a whole bunch in March.
Wow.
So, it remains to be seen. I don't think anybody agrees yet on what the rest of this month is going to be like. It seems like even the computers don't agree. So I'm not a meteorologist, but this is just, this is what people have been telling me, the people who actually are meteorologists. So I'd hope that we kind of are finally transferring into the quote unquote rainy season. But like I said, I don't know at this point.
Other than houses burning, which is going to affect everything, but what is the problem with fires? Like you mentioned, like, oh, there's a fire in the desert, it's really not going to do anything. But like, what is the problem with all of these multiple fires happening, even if it wasn't burning people's homes?
Right. Well, of course, you have the smoke impacts. That's one thing. And there's a lot of research into that. And of course, I'm not an expert on this, but, as a respiratory patient myself, obviously, I know that it's not good for me. There's a smoke impact. It can affect water. And basically, even if it doesn't burn houses, it burns your landscape. It burns, a lot of other things, brush, your trees, everything, depending on where it is, And so there are lots of problems with this when it happens. And even if it doesn't, people don't lose any structures, it can have some pretty wide ranging effects. It still matters quite a bit, even if you don't have structures that are lost. Again, I'm not an expert on this, but this is what my experience has been covering this. And then, also knowing people who have gone through it in their area and, friends of mine. So
what was the cause of most of the deaths? What happened? They weren't able to get out, or?
Unfortunately, for the purposes of this, I don't know.
Okay.
I've just been busy with some other tasks, but I don't know exactly why or how. And maybe somebody has said so, but I don't know that they've released anything officially.
I think a lot of people in general, let's not even say for this fire, I think it was a lot of people who didn't have the means to leave or were disabled, or I saw a lot of people saying that older members of the community, especially in Altadena, were like, I'm not leaving my house that I bought 30 years ago. I'm just not doing it.
And that happens a lot. Law enforcement will go door to door, or, give a signal of some kind, or, in every fire that's really been severe, in my experience, that there will always be people who don't leave. Some people are too disabled. Some people don't want to leave their pets. Some people don't believe that there's really a problem. Some people are too frail. Any number of reasons, really. They don't trust officials. They don't want to leave the house that they've worked for decades. Lots of reasons. Always have people who don't leave.
If you were in charge, what would you say, or just from your experience, having been through it as someone with respiratory problems, reporting on it, going through this last big chunk of fires, what would change, or what would be implemented? Like, what are we not doing that you're like, we got to be doing this?
I wish we had a completely consistent system to get alerts out to people consistently across areas faster. Really, that's the thing that I would like to see. And where that isn't happening, we hope that we are able to pick up some of that slack, really. Give people information, maybe when there's a gap, help people make informed decisions. Because that's really the reason we're all here, all the volunteers, everybody, is just to make sure people have information in a situation where they're scared, they might panic. I know I've been doing this for a while, and I still was like just feeling kind of shell-shocked myself. I wasn't even in a warning zone, but the order was like right nearby. And so people were telling me what I should do and shouldn't do. And it offered a perspective on being kind of on the other side of it, right? As a person, a resident in that area. Before, I had just seen it as I'm giving these people these alerts, not on the other side of it. But now I was in a situation where, like, do I evacuate? Do I not evacuate? What I tell other people to do, but it's different when it's you having to deal with it and make decisions, right? Where are my cats?
Where are your cats?
I believe they're in the other room sleeping, because this is the time of day they just, among other times, one of them is here on the computer tower sleeping, but she's just zonked out laying across the computer tower. That's
sure. And then at night is when they really want to party.
Oh yeah. Well, I wake up at like 4:30 every day to do this. I have alarms, but really the most reliable thing is my cat. One of them will just meow her head off, and then I'll get up, and maybe she needs to be fed, maybe she doesn't. I'll hang out for a while, get on the computer, start doing things.
Yeah.
Make coffee. And then after a while, she's like, okay, I'm going to go back to sleep now. It's great.
Yeah. So you can start your day. I did my part. I
did my part. Yeah.
Yeah. I have a chihuahua that's the same. He'll like just sit on my chest and be like, hello. And I'm like, oh my God. And then whenever he is acting like he doesn't want to hang out with me, like because he's usually like all over me, and I'm like kind of get annoyed sometimes. And then when he like goes to his bed and he's like, I've actually had enough of you, I go and bother him and like pick him up, because I'm like, no, you don't get to decide. No, now I want your attention. So guess what?
People have suggested, why don't you wake her up during the day so she'll want to sleep at night?
Exactly. So she'll know what it's like.
But also it's like the only time it really is hard is on days off, because she doesn't know it's a day off.
Exactly.
Right. She just thinks it's a normal 4:30, like, meow.
Exactly.
It's like, no, it's not like that today. Go to sleep.
But that's what's so, and that's what, in what some ways that these things are an equalizer, because I didn't like when people were saying, well, it's just rich people, because you're still a person, and you still are. I saw so many videos of people trying to find their pets, and it is like you do in your line of work start to think about, what would I do? What do I need to do? Where, it's funny to be reporting on a thing that you're experiencing.
Right.
Not funny, haha, but funny.
Yeah. It's. I mean, were it up to me, of course, no one would have to deal with it or be in these situations.
I mean, do we not build in these areas? Like, do we not? There's people that say, "Oh, humanity is trying to outsmart Mother Nature and building houses on flood zones and building houses where you shouldn't," and things like that.
Right. I've heard those things for sure. That gets into a bigger discussion about, how do people live with fire? What else should we be doing?
Mm-hmm.
Are the homes we building in the wrong place? Are the homes we're building, are they resilient? Are they hardened? Do they have enough defensible space? That gets into a whole other discussion, but I'd like to believe that if everything was just okay and predictable and it wouldn't matter. But the fact is that I think things are becoming less predictable.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody really expected us to have these kind of wind events with stuff like 100 miles an hour in places. And, in January, that's not something that's normal here. There's not much you can do if something's being pushed that fast, that far. I mean, you can do so much, but that's kind of, really it's hurricane force you're dealing with. Humans can only do so much at that point.
The volunteers, it seems like that's productive. That's what they're doing, which is lovely to hear. So do you want to tell my audience where they can find your reporting, where they can find Watch Duty, anything that you want to plug?
So our app is just Watch Duty. It's available on, what is it called? Google Play and the App Store for Apple. And then we also have a website. It's watchduty.org, which kind of explains how everything works. And then the website version of Watch Duty is app.watchduty.org. And that kind of gives you access to everything that you can see, have an overview of what things are going on and get all your incident information that way too. If you aren't used to using it on your phone or things like that. Not everybody wants to download an app. So, So that's where you can find all of our reporting for everybody who's putting reports out and all of those things. So just watchduty.org and the WatchDuty app, all of that will just give people the framework and the background and all the things they need to know.
Thank you so much.
Bad with Money with Gabriel S. Dunn is a production of Noted Bisexual, produced by Melisa D. Monts and Diamond MPrint Productions. Edited by Diane Kang, post-production sound by Coco Llorens, production assistance by Melanie D. Watson, and music by Mike Kaplan, Zach Sherwin, and Jack Dolgen, sung by Sam Barbera. Thank you, love you, bye!
All you homeowners have unique needs. Some feel the need to paint their door a vibrant shade of blue. Others have the need to decorate their bathroom with fish, anchors, and other nautical items. And because each homeowner has unique needs, Geico helps you get the right coverage for your home and what's in it. That way, you get exactly what's right for you, even if your needs are unique. Get more with Geico.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/PODKATZ13. Just go to Indeed.com/PODKATZ13 right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.